right, everybody. Welcome in to another episode of the NFL Seekers podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about the risers and fallers of the Senior Bowl this week. There were some practices that went on, and there's a lot of highly touted prospects, a lot of prospects that we really like, and it's a late night Seekers pod over here. It's a rainy night over here. It's going to be a fun one. I'm excited to talk about these guys, talk about how their kind of draft stocks being affected, who's kind of being helped the most and hurt the most by these practices. And how are you? How's your week?
First and foremost, happy February, Dan. Punxsutawney Phil did not see his shadow. So that means that we're going to have an early spring. And yes, it's been raining all day. It's already starting to feel like spring here in Utah. Late night pod. We got the cozy vibes right here. Also, February. So, we got the NFL Combine. Now we're talking about the Senior Bowl today. It's, a lot to look forward to. Late night vibes going on here in the Seekers Pod. I'm excited. Reese's Senior Bowl week, a lot of news, a lot to talk about, and just we're getting into the best time of the year, man. So nothing better. Excited to talk about this though.
100%. Let's just get right into it because there is a lot to talk about. We're going to kind of show some clips of, the best plays of the week, the best reps of the week. So I'm really excited to talk about these guys. And we'll start it off with the quarterbacks, of course. And interesting week for these quarterbacks. You could kind of say that they're all fallers in a way. I don't want to be too negative, but you can kind of confidently say that none of them really raised their stocks too much. The quarterbacks being Michael Penix, Bo Nix, Sam Hartman, Spencer Rattler, Michael Pratt, and Joe Milton. Let's start with Michael Penix, because Michael Penix was by far like the most competent quarterback there. You can see it with his arm, the way that just the ball moves out of his hands. I have two clips really just to kind of show you the appeal of Michael Penix, and it's just you see how effortlessly the ball leaves his hands. It just shoots out like a cannon. It looks like a beautiful, beautiful ball when he releases it. It really is a pretty ball. So it did catch eyes at the Senior Bowl. A lot of people were, impressed by Michael Penix's arm strength. And you see in a play like this, he generates a lot of torque off his back foot. Doesn't need to really move his body around at all. He just throws it off his back foot effortlessly and gets it there. So he does by far have the best arm in this kind of group, the best tools of any of these quarterbacks. What did you think of Michael Penix though? Because a lot of people were kind of disappointed by him in like the red zone and him throwing over the middle and kind of the harder aspect.
And this kind of goes to say with all these quarterbacks, like first and foremost, I really do respect them coming out and competing. I think that is a big part of that showing you're not scared to go out here and face this competition. Obviously, you're playing, your timing's not going to be right with these receivers. A lot it's different. You're learning a lot of new things from a lot of different coaches. So there's a lot of information going on. There's a lot of pressure. And so first and foremost, I want to give them props for coming, because a lot of quarterbacks are too scared to come and they don't want to hurt their draft stock. But all these guys showed up and they went out there and they played. But yeah, did it necessarily raise their draft stock? No. Did anyone have anything wow moments? No. But yeah, I mean, Michael Penix, he did have some good highlights. His arm length, I know people with the measurables, he had like 37-inch arms, which is just crazy. And then he had massive hands. So there's like 11-inch hands or something too. It was like giant wide receiver hands. So the measurables, at least for Michael Penix, were there. He definitely was the best. And that highlight you just showed, I mean, that's a hard throw. I mean, you're throwing out to the corner, with absolutely no hip movement, no thing. It's just you're just kind of launching at it. And it just gets there effortlessly. There's kind of there on a rope and on a dime. So if you're looking at the positives, that was the positive. But yes, there was a lot of aspects where he struggled, and rightfully so. There's a lot of information. You're not on timed with these receivers. You don't have that chemistry. But yeah, Michael Penix was the best of the bunch. On the other hand, I don't think he hurt his draft stock too much. Maybe even in this, he maybe rises above Bo Nix a little bit. Bo Nix was very underwhelming though.
Yeah, so I mean that's a good transition into Bo Nix. I will say, like he's getting a lot of hate. He had some, I mean, I'll show you right now the kind of the play that's going viral.
Yeah.
It's just Roman Wilson kind of really beating Quinyon Mitchell, and then Bo kind of just completely underthrowing it. I kind of feel bad putting this on here, but I'm sure everyone's seen it. It's gone viral. And I mean, yeah, plays like this are why people are, kind of souring on Bo after the weekend. And it wasn't the best showing. But I will say, like, I don't want to fully pile on him either because he impressed me in the red zone. He made some good red zone throws, like and the red zone period in general. I thought he was really impressive. So I think he can excel in the NFL, like just with a team that can just have him play in structure and stride, not having to do too much on like a Shanahan type offense. I think he's a solid guy, solid. I think he's a round two guy though. I don't know if he should be going in the 20s in the first round. Where do you think Bo ultimately ends up, really?
Yeah, I mean, if some team wants to take a flyer on him, I mean, we were before this, I mean, he was kind of, being as mocked as high as the Broncos or the Saints, and in some instances, even an 11 to the Vikings. But I mean, yeah, he actually did do pretty well in the red zone. Yeah, I thought his play action pass and his, rollouts in the red zone were actually pretty good. And, he was very efficient in the red zone. Um, but there's a kind of a quote from, Daniel Jeremiah is like, very rarely do you see a rollout, a misdirection read rollout in in a bowl like this that doesn't work because obviously the linebackers are not on the same page. It's really hard to get flowing one way and cover it. But I mean, he did do his job in the red zone. But yeah, I think that the main thing with Bo Nix is he just left a lot to be desired. I felt like there's just a lot left to be desired, and it was pretty underwhelming. He still has the combine to go to, so we'll see. We'll see go there, but yeah, he definitely didn't help himself. But and to answer your question, sorry, I kind of got off tangent, but I think really realistically, Bo Nix, we should be looking early day two to the middle rounds of the second round. So I mean, I don't think he should fall much further than that because there is a lot of potential there. But I think where teams will feel most comfortable is round two.
Yeah, 100% in the right spot. I'm pretty sure that Bo Nix could be a good starting quarterback for sure. I just don't know, the ultimate upside. I don't know how high you have to take him. Like you mentioned, the Broncos, I think they could comfortably trade down and still take him. So I am very interested to see where he ends up. I feel like we're kind of nitpicking at these two top guys. It's because of expectations. It's Bo Nix and Michael Penix, two Heisman finalists that were at the Senior Bowl. So I mean, it is relative to expectations. I would say that they really didn't boost their stock. Bo hurt his more than Penix for sure. Penix probably stayed about the same. Do you have any takeaways on like kind of I thought Sam Hartman, he looked fine. I think Sam Hartman being placed on the same team with Michael Penix and Bo Nix kind of set him up for failure, but I mean he did compete. He's got a really good head on his shoulders. He's a confident, cool guy. I think he could be a really good backup. What did you think of Sam Hartman? Anything?
Kind of gave me that Gardner Minshew vibe, and I liked it, to be honest with you. I liked the confidence. I liked him. I liked the yappiness. I liked the toughness. There was a run in the red zone area where Sam Hartman he runs up the middle and he's 2 or 3 yards past the line of scrimmage, pump fakes the ball, gets the corner to jump, and then runs into the end zone and points at Peyton Wilson, and goes just like old times, right? Back in his time at Wake Forest. So I liked it. I mean, Sam Hartman's not going to be a high pick. He might be fifth to undrafted, honestly, is probably his range. But I think Sam Hartman could actually be a decent backup quarterback for a team. And I like the head on his shoulders, and I like the confidence he exuded and the leadership. And, I like that smack talk he bring. It was exciting.
And I will say though, the thing that hurt him the most is his arm strength, his arm talent. It kind of shows up in the red zone period, especially. He can't really zip that ball in, and he did have a lot of incompletions. Probably some of the more bad incompletions this week just because of his arm strength, probably being the weakest of the quarterbacks there. But we'll go on to the other three quarterbacks on the other team. I would say Spencer Rattler. I can't say his name. Spencer Rattler. He definitely helped his stock the most of those three quarterbacks. He honestly looked pretty solid. He kind of like Penix. He wasn't bad, but he did have make some good plays. He definitely impressed. He has a really good arm, and I don't know. I think Spencer Rattler could be, I don't know. I want to say starter almost like in the right situation and maybe sit a year or two and really develop his mind. I think Spencer Rattler has it in him to be a starter. But what did you see anything or?
Well, I just want to speak on one thing with Spencer Rattler. A lot of people who watched that QB1 show and kind of saw him go into Oklahoma, um, with, excuse me, who's the USC coach now? What's his name?
Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, and go into that Lincoln Riley system and really thought he would only be able to survive in that Lincoln Riley system. People have this like bad look on Spencer Rattler, and rightfully so. I do too. I watched the quarterback one. I thought he was kind of a cocky, arrogant dude, um, who was just kind of full of himself. But I think he's matured a lot. I think he does have a lot of tools. He's definitely undersized at 6 foot, and I don't remember what he weighed in at, but he definitely looks undersized. But I think Spencer Rattler has matured a lot and has gotten a lot better. I don't know how much I have to take away from this. I feel like he kind of performed how we thought he would. But yeah, I mean, given the right situation for Spencer Rattler, he's maybe a middle of the draft kind of guy. But yeah, not a lot of takeaway, but yeah, maybe given the right system and stuff, he could be a situational quarterback that could do okay.
Yeah, and like I said, he was the best quarterback on his team. Michael Pratt, Joe Milton. I think Michael Pratt could be a good backup type. I kind of see him in like a Saints, Broncos, Sean Payton type of offense. Joe Milton has tools for sure. I won't say that I see it with Joe Milton, I'll be honest. But he has the tools. I won't say he doesn't have any upside, that's for sure. Did you have any thoughts on those last two?
But Joe Milton, he is an athlete, but Joe Milton is not an accurate quarterback, and that's obviously going to be his biggest downfall. The athleticism, the athlete is there, the arm strength is there, but there's just no accuracy to him, and that's what's ultimately, I don't even know if he can be drafted because of that. There's genuinely no, I mean, the dude's not accurate with a football, so yeah, I mean, I think he could, I don't know. Maybe he can develop. He's definitely got the tools, but yeah, there's just no accuracy, and that's the biggest thing with a quarterback is being accurate.
Yeah, definitely an interesting week for the quarterbacks. I don't want to be negative or anything, but I would just say that none of them really helped their stock. We'll just say that. And it was kind of just neutral. Some of them maybe been a little bit negative than the other. But let's go on to the next position. It's my favorite position to talk about. We'll go on to the DBs. We'll start off with the biggest riser of the weekend on defense for sure, and that's cornerback Quinyon Mitchell. Just an absolute beast. Like the fact that a kid from Toledo is only needing 2 days of practice to completely solidify his draft stock, and then he takes the third day off because he's already like locked in as like a top 20 pick. It's insane. Quinyon, I had him in our early December mock draft, and I was in the first round, and I was really high on him, and I do feel like he's gonna be in the thick of things for that CB1 conversation when it's all said and done, right there with Arnold and Kool-Aid. What were your thoughts on Quinyon before I show some highlights?
I think Quinion is a solidified top 20 pick now. Quinion might have just had the biggest rise of anyone, maybe in the Senior Bowl we've ever seen. I mean, I mean, you're not supposed to be winning every single rep as a corner in these one-on-one situations. It's meant to be extremely difficult to you. And I think Quinion, there's one that, yeah, that Roman Wilson, where I think he got beat once by Roman Wilson and maybe once by Tez Walker. Both ended up being incompletions and drop passes. But yeah, Quinion Mitchell out of anyone. I mean, his day, I mean, man, he is insane. I mean, the only question with Quinion Mitchell was he only played press coverage. I mean, excuse me, he never played press coverage. He was always off man coverage. And so, this was a good opportunity for Quinion Mitchell to play some press and get up in these receivers' faces. And he did everything that people were worried about and then some. So Quinion Mitchell is now in legit talks of being the first corner taken off the board over Terrion Arnold, Cooper DeJean, Nate Wiggins, Kool-Aid McKinstry. He legit, I think at this point probably will be because the tools are all there, the athleticism is there, and he answered every single question that people had about him in this Senior Bowl.
Yeah, you and I were already high on him coming in, so like we're not too surprised or anything. But just like the gap squeeze that he allows, he doesn't allow any space in between the receiver. This is Jerry Rice's son, Brennan Rice, and he just is mirroring every single route that he's every single play he's mirroring. It's impressive. I love cornerback play. It's like one of the hardest things to do. It's just beautiful to watch.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is just damn near flawless on this, and he's going up against Roman Wilson, who's projected to run a 4.3. So I mean, you think about that, and this dude is his makeup speed, his mirroring ability. It's just it's incredible. I mean, this was truly. I know I would say he's 1A in this risers category. There's one guy on the offensive line who we'll get to in a minute, but yeah, I mean Quinyon Mitchell, an absolute winner from the Senior Bowl, and look for him. Honestly, I really do believe at this point to be a top 20 pick and in serious contention for CB1.
Yeah, look for him to be a Raider. I feel like I just have a gut feeling he's gonna be a Raider at like 13, or he could even be a Bronco at 12. He's gonna go high, and it's really fun. You love to see it with Quinyon. Let's talk about another riser at corner, and it's a big boy from Notre Dame, Cam Hart. He's a stud. He is just a lengthy, physical, shutdown corner. I felt bad because he was in Tez Walker's head this whole week. He literally was following Tez Walker around everywhere, and we'll get to Tez Walker soon. He was one of our followers actually, mainly because of Kim Hart. But I mean, I'll show the clip that's kind of going viral right now. This is just perfect coverage. This reminds me of Patrick Surtain, and this is also on Tez Walker. And he is just shut down. His technique is damn near perfect. He's a big, tall guy, and yeah, he's going to be a good player. It looks like he may have rose his stock the most because he was regarded as like a 6th round pick, and now he is just shooting up boards because of his performance this week in practice. So I love Cam Hart. I really want my team to take him. Really,
Yeah, no, that's what you want in a corner, man. When you got the physical tools, and I just love the way he's on him. I mean, it's aggressive. And in these situations, it's a little grabby, but that's what you want. You want a physical corner, get in your face against a guy like Tez Walker, who is a borderline first round pick. And now people are starting to question that. And yeah, Cam Hart, the physical tools are just excellent. The size is excellent. And some team's gonna fall in love with that. And for him being considered before this 5th, 6th round pick, I think we're thinking, day two, maybe 4th round at the latest. Honestly, on Cam Hart, he really solidified himself. He made a lot of money at the Senior Bowl.
100%. He's just an absolute mirror of a corner. He shouldn't be as fluid as he is, as tall as he is. I love Cam Hart. I am really excited to see where he ends up. Let's go to our next riser for corner. We have a few more because there's just a really good performances at the corner position. It's a hard thing to do. I would say in the Senior Bowl, being a corner is probably the hardest thing you could possibly do. One-on-ones are literally catered for the receivers to win that rep. So I do want to shout out Jarvis Brownlee Jr., the corner from Louisville. He is an absolute beast. He makes some crazy plays. There was a highlight going viral that Sauce Gardner actually tweeted about, and he puts himself in position to make a pick almost every single play, and that's a really hard thing to do as a corner. So Jarvis Brownlee Jr., the Florida State transfer, he really put himself in a good position to rise up boards, and he puts himself in a good position in coverage. Like he really just it's I can't say enough how hard it is to put yourself in a position constantly to make a pick, like Trayvon Diggs type stuff, Deron Bland, and that's really what he has been doing. So I love him as well.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some low key guys. Max Melton, Bo Melton's brother, who had a good day. Yeah, I mean Jarvis Brownlee Jr. Is a guy that's going to rise up draft boards. Had a great week of practice. Do we want to talk about fallers? Or do you want to get a bit into your favorite dude, real quick?
Well, I do love Max Melton. Max Melton is, you mentioned it, Bo Melton's brother, crazy athlete. His whole family is just a legendary athletic family at Rutgers. I want my team to take Max Melton as well. I just think he's going to be like a starter. I would be fine starting in day one as a rookie. Like I'm confident that Max Melton's a good player, really. And let's talk about our faller real quick before we go to the safety that we want to talk about. We have one faller here in this category, and it's a kind of a negative one, man. Kalen King, Penn State corner, big fall from grace since 2022. He had a bad week. I would say he's the biggest faller of the week, really. Everybody burned him. Everybody got by him. He couldn't stick with anyone downfield. He had like a 92 PFF grade in 2022, and this year he kind of fell off with like a 61 grade, and then in the Senior Bowl at all, but just fell apart. And he was kind of getting exposed. He couldn't guard anyone. He really wasn't even competitive. I don't want to be rude, but he just wasn't competitive. And I was high on Kalen King before, this really. So it's surprising.
Yeah, no, it was just brutal, man. Kalen King was it's just there's some bad clips, and it was just far too often that he was getting beat, he was getting outmatched, he was getting outrun, he was getting out I mean, he wasn't out there, he wasn't being physical, and yeah, it just looked like a dude that honestly should be a 6th or 7th round draft pick. He was like a developmental piece that you're just like, "Oh, well, there's the speed, there's some traits there," but man, it was just far, far too many bad, reps from Kalen King. So that one was very disappointing to see for a guy who was, you know, during the season borderline first, but I think he's kind of fallen to second. Now he might have even just got himself out of the second round. So I don't even know where we view Kalen King at this point because it was just a bad week of practice.
I would go as far as to say he might be a seventh round pick to a UDFA at this point. Like it's been a bad fall from grace, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and the grades just going down. And I mean, you want to see players progressively get better, not worse. And Kalen King seemed just to be on the wrong trajectory. So I mean, yeah, I mean, if he fell to the 7th round, that is wild from where he's originally supposed to be projected. But man, that's just yeah, disappointing week from Kalen King.
Absolutely. And now we'll talk about my draft crush, my darling. It's safety slash slot corner slash running back slash slot receiver slash kick returner, Sione Vaki from Utah, the most interesting player in the draft. I absolutely love the guy. He made some just crazy. I'll tell you the background first. So he's a safety. And this year at Utah, they tried him out at running back because Utah's offense was just terrible and they had no player that could electrify them. So they put their best athlete Baki out there at running back, and he scored a touchdown every time he touched the ball. He's probably the best, like most natural receiving back I've seen, definitely in this class. And I might sound like I'm being hyperbolic or whatever, but he is the smooth, natural runner. I'll show you some clips. Like they moved him, so he played safety the first day of practice at the Senior Bowl, and then they moved him to running back and practice two, and he was kind of routing some people up. He's just a crazy route runner. They tracked him in at the Senior Bowl as like the second shiftiest guy. I don't really know how they track that, but that's what they said. So I mean, he is just a very gifted mover with his
He's a big dude. I mean, look at Sione Vaki, man. He is thick, bro. He's like
Watch
the size
watch
of
the
a
best tax
milkshake.
watch the best Texas route you'll ever see in your entire life. Like it's just OP. I don't know how you could stop him out of the backfield. He is just a crazy athlete. He's a huge dude. He could play linebacker. The Jets defensive coordinator that was there, Oldrich, said that he would be fine playing Vaki as his own linebacker. And I mean, he's a great defensive coordinator. So he is just a tank. He's a crazy, crazy athlete. I'll even show you a play from the regular season because I mean it just shows how natural he is as a runner with the ball in his hands. And this is a defensive player. This is a safety. And so I just wanted to talk about him. I wanted to get it out there because he is. I think he could be that guy as a running back. I think he could be that guy in the NFL in a lot of different positions. And I just want a team to draft him and utilize him as a kind of joker in a lot of different roles. And I think he's electric, man. What did you think about Sione?
Well, I just want to say first and foremost, and thank you for the Utah seats on Sione Vaki's glow up game versus Cal. I happened to be there. Dan hooked a brother up with some seats, and that's when Sione Vaki first got his reps at running back. And oh my goodness, man, it was a party in the end zone because this dude was taking every run to the house. It was fantastic, and it was like, Utah, the running back, he's just doing okay. Here comes Sione Vake, the safety, all of a sudden at running back and breaking off an 80-yard run. He had like a 40-yard run, and every run was just electric. And this dude is a safety turned running back receiver mid-season, and it's just the tellings of an athlete, man. This guy can play all over the field, and yeah, if you could really find a team, almost like a team that had that vision with Taysom Hill to where he's a tight end, he's a quarterback, he's a wide receiver, he plays special teams. It's kind of what I want to see with Sione Vaki in a different light. A guy that can go in there on defensive downs, a dude that can come and take handoffs and be that change of pace running back, or even line him up in the slot. This dude is just an absolute athlete and a weapon, and I don't know. I think teams are going to fall in love with the traits, and I mean this is a big guy running like that. I mean that cut is absolutely ridiculous. I mean he stops on a dime, and then I mean and then the speed as a guy who's 200 plus pounds to outrun the corners and everything to the end zone. It's just it's truly an incredible athlete, man. And I don't know. We may see Sione Vaki get used to this name, man. He could be up there and maybe I think he's reaching now to say. I mean, before he was a little bit down on people's boards, but I think he might be a day two pick.
Yeah, we definitely just want to highlight him because he's definitely going to be a NFL Seekers my guy all off season. The PFF's big board today that came out, he's number 71, so he's definitely rising. He had a really good Senior Bowl, and people are starting to take note. So I do love to hear it. But yeah, just he has crazy quick feet. He had a rep against AJ Barner from Michigan, the tight end, where he just completely shut him down. He stonewalled him at the goal line, and he's just a good player, man. I think he could play like a good star role, like a safety linebacker hybrid. And he's electric on offense too. So I love Baki. I'm excited for his outlook. And you ready to get to receiver?
Let's do it, man. Some fun receivers.
I'm excited to talk about this guy right here, Roman Wilson. He was my favorite player this weekend. Just watching, he impressed me the most too. I would say I wasn't like regarding him as a day two guy even, and no one really was surprisingly. And then just watching the Senior Bowl, kind of watching him back more. He reminds me just of Chris Olave. I really do think he's Chris Olave, and just the way he moves. He probably going to run a 4.3. He's a flyer. He was battling with Quinion Mitchell, who we talked about, the star of the week, really. And then they had some really good reps, each of them, and it was a great battle, probably the battle of the week. I'll show you some. I mean, here's the highlight of the week of all Senior Bowl that everyone's talking about. And it's just the absurd play on Quinion Mitchell, Quinion trips here, but just Chris Olave-esque catch and just the way he handles himself and just controls his body. It's absurd stuff. What did you think of Roman? He's so fun.
I mean, it looks like a future Charger, man. I mean, that's all I can say. So, and me saying that is just praise to the all highest right there, man. But no,
Totally.
Rowan Wilson is just the speed, the route running, the fluidity, and I mean the hands right here. I mean, it's incredible the concentration. There was Roman Wilson of all receivers won the Senior Bowl. He was the best receiver in my opinion there over guys like Tez Walker, Xavier Legette. I think he stood out the most. And I think come combine when he runs, probably I think at the slowest 4.4 flat, but if he hits that 4.3 mark, we're gonna be hearing a lot more about Roman Wilson. So this guy is electric, and he was the only one to beat Quinion Mitchell at the Senior Bowl, and just the separation there, man. It's unreal.
It's literally unreal. This 4.3 speed. He's just gonna fly up boards, really. He's gonna be like one of the bigger risers on offense all draft off season, and I'm excited for it. You can see it here. Just the separation he creates with just his pure speed. It's almost unguardable. Yeah, I'm really excited for Roman. I'm so excited to see where he ends up. I want him for my team bad. I think everyone should because he's gonna be very fun. And with that, let's get on to my guy, because there's a few wide receiver risers that really balled out. And Brendan Rice, the receiver from USC, I mean, he's Jerry Rice's son. Like I feel like this goes unnoticed. I don't know why it does, but it's Jerry Rice's, the GOAT's son. He's just an absolute monster. He was making plays with Caleb Williams all year, just mossing people, and he's a 6'3" beast. He can get separation. Like on this play right here, he gets goal line separation, and he's a 6'3" big dude. And you can see him talk his crap after because he kind of has that dog in him. And I feel like Brandon Rice is going to be a star. I feel like he's going to end up going in the second round at the very least. And I really do have just a good feeling. I mean, it's not too bold. His dad is Jerry Rice, but he's just being regarded very low for some reason.
Yeah, no, he is. He's just really slept on. But yeah, he's a big bodied receiver, and he kind of showed his game, you know. I mean, just the I mean, even the quickness as a 6'3" guy on that route that you see and the quick twitch. And this dude's actually pretty refined. I mean, the routes and everything were very clean. I mean, his dad is the greatest receiver of all time, so it's like it's just like it's not clicking in people's heads. There's gonna be similar traits. There's gonna be, the best coaching that's possible for this guy. I mean, just the refinement that Brendan Rice has, and just not being clearly talked about enough. But yeah, he did help himself in Mobile, and I'm excited to see where he goes, man, because he is a physical beast, and the tools are there.
Physical monster. I'm so excited to see where he goes, and whatever quarterback gets in is just going to be throwing it up to him. If the Bears somehow get Caleb and don't somehow get Brendan Rice, that's just a complete fumble because they were electric together. They make some great plays together, and there's three more riser receivers we want to talk about in kind of the same light because they're all kind of the best route runners in this class. They're all kind of similar archetypes. And we'll start it off with Lad McConkey out of Georgia. He is overpowered as a route runner. He is the best route runner in this class, especially like in the red zone. I mean, I'll show you this little cut up right here of him in the red zone period. He is just unguardable really with his cuts. I mean, this is a catch, by the way, and the way that he just manipulates the defenders and gets open, and he just has a really good feel for the game. People are going to pigeonhole themselves into comparing him to like a Hunter Renfro, because he's white. But I would compare him to like a Deontay Johnson. He really gives me that Deontay Johnson feel. He's electric. He can get open easily as hell. And I think Ladd could be a first round pick, as crazy as it sounds, is the slot receiver.
Yeah, I love that comparison, Deontay Johnson. I mean, I was just looking at the footwork and everything, and I mean, yeah, I mean, look at that, man. That is Deontay Johnson S. I mean, that I couldn't have come up with. I mean, I'm kind of shook. I mean, I don't know if you just came up with that on the spot or you had that in your notes, but that's Deontay Johnson right there, and the hands and everything and the size, the build looks exactly like Deontay Johnson. So I love that comparison. One guy who in the three that I want to kind of point out, who's kind of a riser in my opinion, is um, apparently there's a lot of legends, brothers and sons, and going into going into this NFL draft, and one of them is Christian McCaffrey's brother, Luke McCaffrey, who was a high school quarterback. And he comes into the draft as a wide receiver. He played wide receiver in college, and he also played a little bit of quarterback in college. But kind of an ultra athlete, man. He comes from an athletic family. It's just what the McCaffreys are. And I thought his routes and everything, he looked good. He looked good. He could get open. I thought the quarterbacks kind of were a little underwhelming throwing to him a lot of the time, so he just couldn't stand out as much as I would have liked to. But the routes and everything were clean, and the footwork is really good, and the concentration. He had a really, really when they were doing red zone drill, he had a really, really good catch in the corner of the end zone where he kind of like over shoulders it. And it was really good concentration. He beat the corner off the line, and just want to throw him out there as a guy that was, probably being talked as an undrafted sixth, seventh round guy that now is rising a little bit. I mean, I don't think he's going to go super early because I don't think he's that incredible, 4.4 speed McCaffrey. Just not, I mean, obviously he's not his brother, but I mean, he is somebody to watch out for because he did, he caught my eye here.
I really I have a good feeling about McCaffrey. Obviously CMC's brother. I want him. Like I mean, I'm a Broncos fan. Obviously, Ed McCaffrey is a Bronco, his father. I would love it. I think it's a perfect fit. A team that needs a slot receiver, a team that can use a gadget guy. You can put him in the backfield. I think Luke would be just a really fun prospect. He definitely did help his stock for sure. After this week, like heading into it, he was like a sixth round guy, fifth round guy. I think he could go early day three. I think he could be like one of the first fourth round picks. I really like him. I think he's gonna. I just have a good feeling about him. Kind of similar to Lad McConkey. He just has a really good feel for the game, a really really good feel, and he can just get open with his route running. He's a crisp route runner, and I mean we'll transition into the next the last route runner riser we'll talk about, and that's Ricky Pearsall from Florida. He is just a crazy route runner. He reminds me of like a I don't know, like a Brandon Ayuk. He just is very crafty with his route running. He's very similar to Lad McConkey and McCaffrey. All three of these are probably the three best route runners in this class, and I think they all tremendously help their stocks for that reason. They're going to be open in the NFL, and that's a luxury for quarterbacks. So I love Pearsall as well.
Yeah, I love it. There's some, ultra athletic, and just I mean, what's kind of with these guys is kind of like the quick twitch movement, concentration skills at the point of attack of the catch that just really impressed me for all three of these guys. So it'll be exciting. I think it's a really deep class. Some of my favorite guys to watch, for other podcasters, PFF Stock Exchange. They had some really good things to say about these guys too. But yeah, I mean, it's super, super fun. And they also mentioned that, this draft class, which I agree with, could be like last year's wide receiver draft class, where, we see a lot of these late round receivers immediately making big contributions to these teams. I mean, not all of them are going to be Puka Nakuas, but you could find your Rasheed Rice in the second or third round. I mean, it's looking like that kind of class.
Yeah, I mean those last three route runner types can definitely have like a Puka Nacua type impact because they're so crafty and smart. And we'll talk about our wide receiver fallers real quick. And we already kind of talked about them during the Cam Hart segment, but Tez Walker probably the biggest faller of the whole week. You call him droppy Tez Walker, whatever, but any first round hype that he had is gone. It's out the window. His concentration drops were too much. He dropped the ball more often than not in this one. It was literally a coin flip as if he was going to catch the ball. And I'm not personally out on Tez Walker. I will say that he has a cool background. He played at Western Kentucky, played a game against Georgia. He almost went into Athens and beat them single-handedly. He's a good player. He had some really good highlight plays with Drake May. Only had a 68 PFF grade this year, but I don't know. I think it's kind of somewhere in the middle. He was being regarded as a first round player. I don't think he's a first round player. I think he's a day two player. He will go probably early round threes, where I'm currently projecting. What did you think about Tesla?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely fall in love with the traits and the size of Tez Walker. And yeah, I mean, he was, borderline first round pick coming into this, but I think his weaknesses ultimately showed, and he was far too often dropping the ball. He was far too often getting jammed at the line of scrimmage and just wasn't physical enough. And one of your biggest, I mean, you got two jobs as being a wide receiver. You got to get open, you got to catch the ball. And I mean, he was struggling with both and especially catching the ball. So it was a very disappointing week for Tez Walker.
And then the last faller that we have for offense is going to be Xavier Legette. He's kind of a fan favorite, the kind of darling for NFL Twitter, if you will. He was supposed to be 6'3", 230, but he measured in at 6'1". So he will be a faller. He won't be in the first round conversation anymore. I'll say again, kind of like Tez Walker, I'm not personally like out on Xavier or anything. I do think he's going to be good. He plays huge. He plays big. I like the way he plays a lot. But I did want to point him out because he will be falling no matter what, because he measured 2 inches, maybe 3 inches shorter than everyone expected. So
Yeah, I mean, when you're a 50-50 big body receiver and that's your play type, is that aggressive point of attack. And I mean, yeah, obviously, he did that in college at 6'1". I mean, he still played like that, but obviously, come to the NFL, measurables matter, and they matter a lot more than you think. I mean, a guy like Tom Telesco, the former GM of the Chargers, would not draft a guy if he was under 6'3" and didn't have certain measurables. So there is certain teams that will just automatically rule him out just because of that, and especially with his play type. So that was a little disappointing. Yeah, that he was supposed to be listed at 6'3", 220, kind of that AJ Brown, DK Metcalf beast type. But yeah, a little disappointing on that, and then just not an incredible week at the Senior Bowl. It was a little underwhelming too for a guy that had a chance to really boost himself up.
100% wasn't too dominant at all. And with that, let's get on to the linemen. Let's talk about the biggest riser on the offensive side of things. Jackson Powers Johnson, center slash guard from Oregon, just an absolute monster, an absolute anchor of a man. He's built like a fire hydrant, and he's relentless. He finishes blocks. He's a people mover. He's a former defensive tackle recruit. He's just a stud. He's an all around football stud. He apparently hurt his hammy on day two, and I think it was just his agent telling him you've done enough to solidify being like a top 20, top 25 pick. So just hurt your hammy and go off, because he solidified himself as the number one interior offensive lineman in this class by far. It won't be a question. Zach Frazier from West Virginia is great. He was also at the Senior Bowl, but he's hurt, so he wasn't able to participate, and he will fall because of that injury. So Jackson Powers Johnson is clear above really anyone. He can move, guard, center flexibility. He could be great at all three of those interior positions. And I mean, I think no player really did more to like solidify themselves this week than Jackson Powers Johnson. It was awesome. It was you know, it's not common to get offensive linemen clips going viral on Twitter. You know, he was like a darling on Twitter over the week. Jackson Powers Johnson just did wonders for his stock, and I'm happy for him. I actually played with him in high school. He played defensive tackle, offensive line for us. He's like our best player on offense, defense. He started varsity as a freshman, strongest player on our team as a freshman. He's just a freak of a man, and he's going to be a stud, a people mover in the NFL. He's going to be a star. So I'm excited for JPJ.
Yeah, no, when I said, there's two guys that really came in here and made the most of the opportunity. I called Quinyon Mitchell my 1A. Here's my 1B with Jackson Powers Johnson. This guy was, considered early to midday two pick. And yeah, no, I mean when you're talking about a lineman with a highlight reel and has a mean, nasty streak of finishing blocks and pile driving, pancaking guys into the ground. I mean, he loves it. He loves it. And I mean, this dude, absolute freak, 330 pounds center. You don't see it very often. Danny also had a name for this kid in high school, called him Jay Light. Um, you know, hopefully he comes to the lightning bolts, man. Former Oregon guy. Let's protect Justin Herbert. Jackson Powers Johnson. Let's go to the Chargers. I don't think now there's even a chance they could possibly get him in the second round because I don't even know if honestly he might have just slid himself. I say this Quinyon Mitchell, top 25 pick. I don't know if he'll fall past the Steelers. I mean, Mike Tomlin would fall in love with this guy. They're a center needy team, and I mean he has guard flexibility. He did play guard. He played defensive tackle as a recruit coming in to college. And yeah, I mean, what an absolute week from Jackson Powers Johnson. Hurt your hammy, leave. You've done enough, man.
He showed more than enough, just beautiful stuff. You can see it with his blocks. He's an anchor. He's a relentless blocker, and he finishes blocks. So yeah, just love to see it. Really helped this stock more than really anyone this whole weekend. Let's talk about another interior offensive lineman. We have one more interior offensive lineman riser, and that is Christian Haynes from UConn. I really liked watching him this week. He's a really just solid, solidified blocker in there. Kind of like Jackson Powers Johnson. They tried him out at center for a few snaps, and he did a good job. I think he could be a really good interior offensive lineman. I think he'll probably finish as my top 3 or 4 interior offensive lineman. I think he did a great job to help his stock out of UConn. He did have a viral clip here against LSU's Jordan Jefferson. He kind of stonewalled him and dominated Jordan Jefferson so much that he threw a temper tantrum and threw a little fit here. If you turn on the listen.
Look how Haynes just handled it calmly.
He said, "If you're scared, go to church." Christian,
You get
Christian,
this man in the first round, bro. That was the and
he
I
just,
think in another clip after he goes, and I won the rep.
yeah, he's just like, yeah, he stays cool, calm, collected after this dude just throws a fit in front of him and ruins his draft stock. And meanwhile, Christian Haynes is rising up boards. He's gonna go probably in the second round, and you can see he's cool, calm, collected, just a stud. I love to see it.
I want this dude on my team, man. I absolutely love that rep. I think Haynes has that guard center flexibility. I think he can play all three slots on the interior. And a guy from a smaller school like UConn coming out here, and I don't care if you're from LSU. I don't care. I'm gonna absolutely stonewall you and you're gonna cry about it. And I'm gonna raise my draft stock tenfold. Well, you might now damn near go undrafted to Jefferson. So absolutely just a cold take and a badass clip from Haynes. I mean, and that shows a lot, that shows poise, that shows leadership of you're not going to retaliate, that was, and then a little smack talk after he goes and picks up his helmet. I absolutely loved it. And Christian Haynes was lined up on the interior next to another riser, Tyler Guyton, who people are saying he's chalked in the first round. They say you or Tyler Guyton will not fall out of the first round. And him and Christian Haynes were next to each other. And the chemistry that those two developed, they were saying, this is a pipe dream, but if you could put both of these two on the same team, they had incredible chemistry all week at the Senior Bowl right next to each other. And it was awesome. And both of these dudes just had a fantastic week. The movement skills, the athleticism, you know, the awareness. And I guess these two were also getting awards for vocal leadership and just everything that they did was just an answering and excitement. And it really, and people love that, when you're hyping up your boys and you're hyping up your team. These two were some of the most loud guys there, so they really helped themselves this week.
Yeah, good transition into our offensive tackle riser, Tyler Guyton. He has all the tools in the world to really go like top 15. He really does. I think he was in the top 15 of Daniel Jeremiah's big board actually. He has like that basketball frame, that basketball player, tight end, frame, that athleticism that, the former tight ends don't really lose that athleticism once they put on the weight. They're usually still pretty good movers once they put on weight. So yeah, he is just a freak athlete. A good offensive line coach is definitely going to want to get their hands on Guyton. I could see Guyton going, anywhere inside the top 20 really realistically. And so he really helped his stock. He kind of solidified being a first round pick. I would be confident that Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma does go in the first round. He is raw. He hasn't put out the best tape, but he just has too many tools that I know offensive line coaches will want to work with. And then our last offensive tackle riser is Talisi Fuaga. I mean, he's just a stud. He's kind of already being regarded as like a top 15 player. So it's we don't want to talk about him for too long, but he did solidify his stock. He had some really good reps against Laiatu Latu, who we'll talk about here in a second. He's a stud as well.
Yeah, this might be my draft darling. Talisi Fuaga, man. I'll say it, man. I think I have risen him, which is to the consensus. I don't care. I don't care what you think. This is my big board. Talisi Fuaga is my offensive tackle number one. I know he plays right tackle, but when you're talking about a guy with every single tool possible, who's just an absolute mauler in the run game, who is just his movement skills and his footwork in the pass game is just incredible. And you want a guy with the safest floor in this entire draft class. I think it's Talisi Fuaga. I think he has the safest and the highest floor. Um, do I think he has the highest ceiling? No, I think you cannot give that to Olu and Joe Alt, who weren't here. But Talisi Fuaga, man, from a standpoint of run, pass blocking, and just dominant and dominant at his craft and perfecting his craft and just a finisher. He is now my offensive tackle number one. The more the more I watch him, the more I like the guy, and the speed and everything too is just. I mean, you're doing this to Laiatu Latu, who's one of the most gifted pass rushers, in this class, and you just make him look silly. So Talisi Fuaga, my offensive tackle number one, and a guy who I really think should in most drafts go top five, but we just have a freakish offensive line class.
Yeah, I mean, I love you putting him that high on your big board. We put him on here because I think he solidified himself as a top 10 pick because I don't think he falls past the Jets. The Jets have incredibly already said that they're locked in on Tulisi Fuaga at 10, and you don't see that often with a team that's picking at 10th overall, that they're locked in on a prospect like that. So, I mean, the Titans could finesse him at 7. So I do think that Fuaga locked himself into the top 10. He deserves to be on this risers list. And I mean, yeah, you see this rep against Laiatu Latu, my edge one in this class that we're going to talk about here in a second. Not just
Silly, bro. Silly rep right there.
You don't need words to express it. I mean, that's just a silly rep. That's a perfect way to describe it. It doesn't
Laiatu
matter.
Latu had an incredible week and has some of the best pass rushing repertoire, the best moves of anyone. I mean, this dude is so polished, so good, multiple sack seasons, and Talisi Fuaga drives him inside and then finishes him to the ground. And that's just perfection, man. That is, yeah. And with ease. And Talisi Fuaga, the speed, the footwork, the hands, the power. I mean, there's nothing this guy doesn't have. And sneak peek, he hasn't given up a sack his entire college career. So obviously he's played right tackle, which is the second most valuable position on the line. I think he could play left tackle if needed. But yeah, you want a dominant dude. You go get yourself a Talisi Fuaga, who I think has the safest floor in this entire draft class.
And then another good transition into our next position group, our next guy we're going to talk about, and honestly, one of the bigger risers of the weekend as well. Liatu Latu out of UCLA, edge rusher. I absolutely love him. He was my edge one coming into this. I don't really see why he's kind of falling on consensus boards. There's like apparently an injury red flag, but he's played like a lot and he finished the season healthy. Finished with like a 97 PFF grade. He's just a stud. He only needed 2 days of practice, kind of similar to Jackson Powers Johnson as well. And then his agent told him to wrap it up. You don't need the third day. You can rest because he solidified himself in that first round as well. I don't know exactly where he's going to go. It seems like the NFL is lower on him than they should be for no reason. But I mean, I just love Liatu Latu. He has all the tools in his tool belt. He really is one of the more refined pass rushers I've seen ever coming out. You see this rep right here. He loses at first and then he just comes away with another move, the swim move to beat Lauma or whatever, however you pronounce it. Just a great rep, great week at the Senior Bowl. He really did solidify himself to any of the people that had questions about him, really.
Yeah, that's so pretty, man. I don't know if I've ever seen anyone go to a counter move that fast. You you know, you kind of does a bull rush spin and then counters into the swim move right there and just absolutely toast him in a matter of a second and a half. I mean, like I said, this guy is the most toolsy guy. In the entire edge class. He has the best pass rush moves in all the class. He's the cleanest. And yeah, I mean, it was kind of the apparently there's some medical concerns that has dropped him. Doesn't look like it was a problem in that rep or this season or the past 2 seasons. I mean, back to back dual sack, 10+ sack seasons, ultra productive, great size, great hands, great movement, great feet, a real a real artist of the game, a guy who's perfecting his craft at an unreal level at a young age. So, I love that he's your edge one. He's definitely up there with me. And yeah, I mean, Leatu Latu, it's crazy that, this guy is considered to be, he might even fall into the 20s. He seems like a pass rusher that would be a top 10 pick.
Yeah, I think he's the most pro-ready pass rusher in this class by far. He is such a smooth mover. He's just a smooth athlete. He moves so fluid. You watch him doing drills and just anything. He's just a incredibly smooth edge rusher that you don't really see often with dudes this big. He might be the biggest edge rusher too in this class, like of all the top dudes. And he's just as quick as all of them, just as fast. He's just a absolute freak. So yeah, I did want to highlight Latu Latu. I love him. He will finish as my edge one for sure. I think he should go around the top 10 because I think he could be a game wrecker. So I love him. And with that, let's get on to our next kind of edge riser. And it's an interesting one. It's Darius Robinson, kind of a hybrid edge interior guy from Mizzou. He had a great week though. I mean, he was voted player of the week in practice this week. He literally won player of the week in the Shrine or in the Senior Bowl. So just a fantastic showing. I thought he looked incredibly athletic when they lined him up inside against interior offensive linemen. He was just dominant. He looked overpowered. I actually kind of want to see him in the inside because it looked just overpowered and it would be fun to see. So I don't know. I think Darius Robinson has a lot of tools. His athleticism is going to really help him rise. And I thought he looked really good.
Yeah, no, he was one of the biggest risers of all, and he's a guy, that has that defensive tackle edge flexibility. But yeah, he was dominant. He was just straight up a bully this week, and a guy that was kind of considered, middle rounds. Now they're talking about he rose the stock so much so where people are saying he's second round lock at this point. And I mean the tools are there. Some of the guys that I was watching were podcasters and PFF guys that were at the Senior Bowl said you stood next to Darius Robinson and you looked at him next to the other edge guys and there was a clear difference in size. I mean, this guy is just a Hulk, a tank of a man, and yeah, hell of a week of practice and solidified himself as a round 2 pick in this, which is just wild. And apparently all the scouts and everyone everyone just fell in love with this dude. Oh, muted Mike.
And I think you'll see him in some mock drafts in the first round as well, just with all the hype going around him. And Let's get on to our edge faller. It's a faller that you wanted to point it out here. It's Chris Braswell from Alabama. He didn't kill his stock or anything, but he didn't rise. He definitely didn't help his stock. He probably was regarded as the second best edge rusher here outside of Latu, and he didn't look it for sure. He's a big, strong, big bodied bull rusher for sure, and maybe that doesn't really shine in these Senior Bowl practices. But yeah, I would say he definitely didn't really help his stock at all.
It was just, yeah, it was just you expected, and I mean, it's not like he was horrible. It's not like he got thrown into the ground or anything. I mean, hell, Latu got thrown into the ground by Fuaga, but then came back and absolutely dominated, 10 other people. So yeah, it's not that Braswell was dominated by any sense. There's a rep against Tyler Guyton, which was kind of best on best. And he went for the bull rush move. I think at first he won, and then Guyton did recover. But yeah, he didn't do anything to really solidify himself or really show the tools that Latu had. He is like what you said, that power bull rush guy. Just wants to just be a people mover. But yeah, it just nothing really shined, and he was a guy that really considered, probably a 20 to 30 round pick, but we might see him fall into the second round a few picks. I think he might have just knocked himself right out of that borderline first round pick.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And with that, let's get into our defensive linemen real quick, our interior defensive linemen risers. You have to start with T'Vondre Sweat out of Texas. The guy is just a huge mammoth of a man. It's crazy to see him. Honestly, I could see him going in the first round 100%. I could see a team at the back of the first round wanting T'Vondre Sweat to kind of just clog that middle of the defense, be an insane run defender, and also push the pocket like a Vita Vea type as well. So I think T'Vondre Sweat really helped his stock. He's not going to be a every down player. He's going to be an early down guy, but I think he could be a really good impact. What did you think about T'Vondre?
Yeah, no, he came in, and I guess apparently he opted not to weigh in at the Senior Bowl, which might have been a very good play because a lot of people think he was very heavy, which helped him in the Senior Bowl, and that he'll cut weight for the combine, so he'll run faster. So people think he's actually doing the smart move, but yeah, this dude is an absolute mammoth. You said it. He's the kind of guy. I don't know if he's an every down player, but he's an early down player. You line him up in that one technique, and he's just going to eat up two people. That's what you do. He's going to go right in the middle of that defense, and it's going to take two linemen to block him, and he's going to just clog the run game. And in today's NFL, that matters. You get a guy like that who can just absolutely just you know be an absolute mammoth of a man that can just clog it up, and he showed a really good bull rush. I mean, he had a rep here that was quite embarrassing where he took let's see, what's his name? Bukes Lemire,
Oh
something.
yeah, Arkansas. Yep.
Yeah, the Arkansas center, and just
Bo.
absolutely bullied this man. I mean, just pushed him back into another continent. It was ridiculous. So yeah, absolutely love T'Vondre Sweat. I think just with how good he is, his season at Texas, yeah, maybe he is a borderline first round pick at this point.
Yep. A lot of these guys are going to be, in mock drafts, at least for the first round pick. A lot of them are going to get that hype. It'll be interesting to see where they ultimately end up. And we got one more riser to talk about this episode, and it's someone you really like. I know that it's Oregon defensive interior Brandon Dorlus, an explosive athlete. You could say he's an edge almost. He's just a he is similar, very similar to Darius Robinson, kind of similar hybrid play styles. But I do see Brandon Dorlus as just a really dominant athletic edge. His explosiveness really just pops out when he is, or sorry, not edge. I see him as a really dominant, explosive interior defensive lineman. His explosiveness just really pops out when he is on the interior. He gets off the ball so fast. It feels like it's almost unfair for centers to try to block him. So I love Dorlus's explosiveness, and I think he could be a star. And he's going to go high as well.
Yeah, no. The speed, the moves are there. I know he did come in a little undersized. He was a little light, especially compared to a guy like T'Vondre Sweat. A little bit of the polar opposite of what two defensive tackles can look like. Brandon Dorless is going to be more of your pass rush specialist, your third, fourth down guy that you come in to get after the passer. And yeah, I mean, the speed, the quickness, the quick twitch off the line, the flexibility of putting him out. I mean, you could line him up at edge, no problem. Like I said, kind of like that Darius Robinson hybrid player. You line him up in the three technique on the edge, and he sets the edge and has that pass rush ability. Yeah, and I think he was a winner from this. I think his skill set is very needed at the next level, especially on those big passing downs. And yeah, I think he did really well, and I think he won most of his reps.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. And I mean, we'll throw you one bonus. This guy in the background of Latu's picture right here, Peyton Wilson, the linebacker from NC State. He is a beast. I would say he was the best linebacker in this game, and I would say he helped his case at being the LB1. I do think Edgar and Cooper will finish as LB1, but I think Peyton Wilson's honestly just a really good player, and we're not going to talk about the running backs, tight ends, and linebackers because they really didn't stand out. The Senior Bowl isn't really catered towards running backs, tight ends, and linebackers. It's kind of just hard for them to shine in this. But yeah, anyone else shine to you before we get out of here?
Ray Davis, the running back. I mean, it's really hard to stand out for these guys, but I think if we're talking, if we're just going to throw out a couple names, maybe Ray Davis and Marshawn Lloyd. I think they looked the part. They had some really nice cuts. They had a couple good runs, but again, it's so hard to tell because it's not full contact, and yards after contact and tackling are what linebackers and running backs do. But Ray Davis and Marshawn Lloyd definitely looked the part, and I thought had some okay runs and a couple of really good cuts. Some stuff you like to see in the red zone areas. So Ray Davis looked like a tank too. So dude was like 5'8", like 220 pounds, but also had incredible maneuvers and maneuverability to just absolutely stop on a dime. So just wanted to throw those two out there as well.
Yeah, I like that. Marshawn Lloyd had people oohing and awing at some of his cuts. He is a shifty guy. I didn't even realize how like the bag of cuts he has. He is a very, very shifty guy. I could see him really succeeding in the NFL. So yeah, really fun talking about these risers and fallers. You're gonna see, a lot of these names in the mock drafts coming up here in the next few weeks. A lot of these guys are gonna be really pushing themselves into that first round conversation. So yeah, just a really fun Senior Bowl week. Really fun recapping this. Anything you want to say before we get out of here? Any exit hot takes on any of these guys?
Oh man, Quinion Mitchell, top 13 pick. Locking it in right now. Top 13 pick. Somebody's going to fall in love with Quinion Mitchell. Trade up. I don't know if it's going to be a trade or somebody just in the top 13 takes him, but somebody's going to fall in love with this dude's traits and not let him get past 13.
All right. Quinion Mitchell is a Bronco per stores. And with that, super fun episode. What was that?
Pair him with Pat Surtain, man. Legendary corner group.
I need that. Yeah, you're exciting me. I would love that. Terrion Arnold, Quinion Mitchell. I would love that. Yeah, really fun covering all these guys. Tune into the NFL Seekers podcast for more draft content. We're gonna have a lot coming out soon. We're gonna have a lot of mock drafts. We've really been diving into these prospects, getting into our film. We're gonna be doing a big board, prospect positional rankings. A lot of draft content. We're really excited for it. Big draft nerds. Anything else you want to say?
Like, subscribe, comment, dislike, give us some engagement. We love it. Give us all the feedback. We love to see it. We love to interact with you guys. And yeah, happy Valentine's Day here in the next week or so. Oh, I didn't even know I was gonna do that. But yeah, like and subscribe to the NFL Seekers on all platforms. We love you guys. A lot of draft content coming out. It's gonna be a fun month.
And do one more heart for 1,000 subscribers. Thank you guys for
Yes.
1,000 subscribers. That's awesome. It means a lot. We're gonna keep grinding. Stay tuned to the NFL Seekers podcast. Like, subscribe, comment. Peace.
Peace.